Whew. It's already the end of November, 2024. The month has felt both like an eternity and like 10 seconds to me. I don't know if it feels that way to you. I've had a few people still reaching out to me asking if I'm okay after the video I posted a few weeks ago titled We're in This Together. It was the post-election video. And probably as a result of the fact that I've also not been super active here, aside from growing up with Godzilla and restitching the tapestry. But obviously, the election was difficult. And after that, I had some very insightful conversations with my therapist that I think has really shaped my understanding of my mental health right now. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about that, if that's okay. But obviously, for the LGBTQ plus community, the election, and for many other communities, mind you, the election still presents a lot of concerns and worries about what's to come. And around the election, like that week, I spent a lot of time fighting, having conversations with people who I thought were allies, who basically kind of gaslit me into feeling like I'm crazy for having legitimate concerns. I was so frustrated that I even put together like a bibliography of sources corroborating what I was, sharing about, threats against marriage equality, other LGBTQ plus points of access when it comes to rights, etc. And it got to a point where I reached kind of like my bandwidth threshold and something had to give. So during a therapy appointment, my therapist kind of posed the question of like, Donnie, why do you feel obligated to educate people to try to open that door when not everyone is willing to step through? And it was very eye-opening for me because there are just some people who won't, there are some people who, no matter how many times you have conversations with them, they may not really understand or see the gravity of the situation, and see, the thing is, pulling away and shutting myself off like that is the furthest thing from my instinct possible, because as an educator and an activist, I really do believe in people. Like, I believe that people do have a capacity for empathy and listening, and I still do believe that. But I've learned that I can't always expect myself to be that person. I can't always expect myself to be 120% educator activist in every space, because when I get response like that, especially people who purport to care, it's frustrating. I think the turning point for me also was like I had someone share that they thought that I was living in fear willfully, like choosing to live in fear, despite, all the information, despite the reliable sources, despite them being aware of my many years of advocacy, education, support, etc. And it was a little bruising because to me, that came off dismissive, and it came off as, oh, there goes Donnie again. There goes Donnie again, being dramatic. And that, for me, I was like, okay. Mind you, this was after my conversation with my therapist, so it was kind of like the catalyst of being like, okay, Donnie, it's not worth having the battle like that with these people when they're going to immediately assume that you're just being overdramatic, because to me that suggests that there is not a lot of empathy being presented by them at the forefront of the conversation. And was really difficult for me to accept. But after that, I was like, okay, aside from doing the shows, which I love, I'm going to kind of scale back on social media. I scaled back a little bit here. I completely, for the most part, scaled back on Twitter. I've been a little active on Blue Sky, but like I've just been trying to scale back a little bit. And my mental health has improved considerably since. I do feel a little bit more recharged. I feel ready to educate and have conversations. And it's not to say I know that there will be points in education and all of that, and activism as well, where you're not always going to feel your best, and that's always the case. But when I had so many people who purported to care make their voting decision at the expense of myself and my family, and then of course be told that I was being ridiculous and overdramatic, like that really, it made me question whether or not I feel safe around a number of people, and it was a shock to my system. And it's not to say that I'm not coexisting with those individuals. I am, of course. It's just in that coexistence, there is that kind of acceptance of the reality of like, oh, well, there was that. I don't know if this is making sense. I know this is unedited and it's kind of chaotic, but moving into December, I'm carving out time for joy. I'm carving out time for things that I love. I mean, not only finishing up or stitching the tapestry, which that's another reason I've been really raw lately, kind of like the reality of a huge project that has spanned years ending of sorts. Season 3 of Growing Up with Godzilla has ended. I don't know, November and December is always kind of like this month of endings. It's kind of fitting considering the season, I guess. But um but I'm okay. I'm okay. We are in this together. And if there are instances where you need to hold space for your mental health, grant yourself the grace to do so. And I never believed that I needed my grace granted for that, because I guess at this point in my journey, when I've realized that I do have this voice that I can use, sometimes it's okay to not always be the one coaxing others through that door, that educational door. Sometimes it's okay to prioritize your own mental health. So, anyway, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I will talk to you soon. I love you all.